Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. This week I'm revisiting the very first video that I released on the channel. That video has been viewed thousands of times, over 100,000 actually, but it has haunted me since I realised that there was an error in it. I've been wanting to redo it since, but I haven't just found the time to do so. The very first one of these I made was about 6-7 years ago, but the one for the channel was about 2 years ago. So let's get started. You'll need 24 squares of fabric measuring 6 by 6 inches. I'm using the texture blender in white for this. And for the accent fabric, I'm using a couple of fat quarters. Quick thanks to Nancy9478. As I'd not used directional fabrics in the previous video, it never entered my head to actually mention that if you do, there's a slightly different cutting process. Directional fabrics need to be cut on the bias so that the pattern runs correctly. So thanks for that, Nancy. So from this you'll need 12 squares measuring 4 by 4 inches. For the accent fabrics you'll need to apply fusible webbing to the back. Now right now you can see that I'm cutting them, or will be cutting them, at 5 by 5 inches, but when I was adding them onto the projects at the end I did realise that they looked better being slightly smaller. So one of the two fabrics I'm using for the accent fabric is actually directional this time. For the ones cut from this, I'll be cutting on the diagonal because, as you can see, if I don't, the trees will sit at a strange angle in the project. Again, I cut these down later to 4 by 4, and I do suggest that that's what you cut them to. Don't cut them to 5 by 5. The 4 by 4 looks significantly better with more of a border showing on the finished mat. So using the line on my ruler, I placed the ruler so that the trees were lined up with that instead of the squares on the ruler. I hope that makes sense. As you can see, this left the trees pointing perfectly for each petal of the mat. Now apply fusible webbing to the back of the accent fabrics. Just place it on the back, add heat from a warm iron, and then you can leave the paper attached for now. So what I'm going to do is go off and apply the fusible webbing to the back of all these, and then I'll be back. All sorted. Now we'll prepare the white squares. So take 2 and place them right sides together, pretty side to pretty side. You can pin them if you want to, I didn't bother. Sew around the entire square using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. There's no need to leave a turning gap in this project. Clip the corners to reduce the bulk. I didn't do it on this first one as I forgot, but it was obvious once I turned it out. Pull those two pieces of fabric apart and cut one side of the fabric in the middle. Don't cut through both layers, just one. Just enough to pull the fabric right way out. So turn out the fabric through that hole. Give the square a good run over with an iron. Now, as you can see, this is where I noticed that the 5x5 squares were too large. There was an edge, but it wasn't much of one. So I trimmed the accent fabrics down by 1 inch and they look so much better. So peel off the paper, place in the middle of the white square on the side where you cut your hole, and iron in place. And as much as I'd like to leave it there, the fusible webbing isn't a suitable substitution for actual stitches. So I'm going to use stitch 44 on my machine, which isn't helpful to you, but let me show you which stitch that is. It's basically a hemming stitch, but it works extremely nicely for applique. It stitches off to the left and to the right in intervals. So using that, I'm going to sew around the accent fabric on all the squares. I'll do this one and show you. As you can see, it does add a little something extra, and it secures the fabrics obviously. So now all I need to do is repeat that again on all 12 squares, and again I'm going to go do that off camera. There we go, all 12 looking pretty with that stitched edge. Now we can start the process of actually joining them up to form the mat. Using the provided template, mark the lines on either side of the template. You can either mark all of your blocks up or just follow on as I'm going to do it. So take one of each design and place them back to back. Sew down the right hand mark on the line itself. Open that up and place the next piece back to back again. Mark the line on the top one. This should be the one that you've already stitched to block 1. So we're working on block 2 now. sew down that line. And repeat, adding all the remaining blocks. Remember, if you're using more than one fabric, alternate the accent fabrics and be sure to orient any directional fabrics correctly. The bottom of any directional fabrics should be on the wider end of the template. Now, the ends should now be close enough to one another to touch. So again, place the same fabrics together, so back to back, and sew one last line. Trim all those rogue threads. So we're going to bring up these top petals together using buttons. Of course, you can use anything or nothing. Just pop in a few stitches there. However, a little embellishment never hurts. So bring the two together and sew through both layers as you stitch on the button. And you're going to continue all the way around. I'm going to do this off camera as it takes a little time to complete, and I'll bring you back once they're all sewn in. And there we go. Pop in your candle and you're set. These make wonderful, wonderful gifts. I hope you liked this one as much as the original, and hopefully I've managed to take you through the process without significantly messing up. Please consider liking the video and subscribing to our channel. Also, if you do make anything from our videos, please do tag us on Facebook and Instagram. Details for those accounts can be found in the description. Until next time, happy sewing.